I want to start today by talking about Texas. Texas is a state that for so many years we keep hearing, this is the year that Texas might change. This is the year that, due to demographic shifts, it might no longer be a red state. This is the year a Democratic candidate might win the presidential election in 2020. It was theorized that maybe Joe Biden could. It didn't ultimately happen. And we've been talking more and more about Texas, including yesterday on the bonus show, which I hope, the bonus show at this point, award winning and world famous. If you're not getting the bonus show, what are we doing, folks? Yesterday on the bonus show, I told you I'm very happy to hear that Democrat Beto O'Rourke is looking very strongly, as the kids say these days, at running for governor in Texas in 2022 against the incumbent Republican governor, Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott is horrible. Really just a horrible person, and has been an absolute disaster for Texas. And I'm just as thrilled to tell you today that Greg Abbott's approval rating is continuing to collapse and crater and decline, as it should, based on what he has done as governor of Texas. And this could shape up to be a major win for Democrats in next year's midterm. So let's quantify this first, and then we'll talk more qualitatively. What are the numbers in Texas? Well, Greg Abbott's job approval is now down to just 45%. This is a Republican governor in a Republican state that increasingly has purple elements to it, for sure. 54% of Texans say the state is going in the wrong direction. Before COVID, Abbott's approval was 59%. 59. It's now 45%. That's a decline of 14 percentage points. Look at how much of a disaster Abbott's ideology and leadership have been for Texas. On COVID, he's been on the side of the virus, quite frankly. He's been on the side of opposing ever really closing much of anything. His lieutenant governor, Dan Patrick, famously went on TV in was it May of 2020? It was very early, June maybe, and said, we've got to keep things open, folks. And grandma's willing to sacrifice herself for the good of the economy, by which he meant, of course, the stock market. The Abbott administration has been on the side of opposing masking requirements and making them more difficult to pass. The Abbott administration has been opposing vaccination requirements and or making them more difficult to put in place. And Texas deaths are spiking pretty badly. This has been one of the worst run states on COVID, period, under the vague and almost meaningless and satirical at this point heading of freedom and liberty. So that's COVID, total disaster. But then look at energy. They love to brag in Texas. Republicans do about, we've got this big, bad, independent electrical grid. We're not linked to any other states, including any blue states. We do our own thing. We do our own generation and blah, but we don't need anybody else. And thanks to that very system, last winter, Texas experienced major blackouts. They tried to blame it on frozen wind farms. And of course, we debunked that. Total and complete humiliation for their liberty-minded electrical grid. This past summer, due to the heat, this summer, what I mean is a couple months ago, Texas was going in and just adjusting people's thermostats to try to reduce electrical demand. Now, to be clear, the customers that had that happen, they did opt into that. But it's not common that it actually has to be done by the electrical company. Just one disaster after another. And as I said yesterday, I'm very excited about Beto O'Rourke challenging Greg Abbott. This is building my belief even more that the 2022 midterms could be some of not only the most interesting from an observer standpoint, but some of the most consequential midterms in a long time. Abbott's approval rating should be collapsing. He and his administration have caused unnecessary suffering and needless death. And now in 14 months, Greg Abbott could be held accountable for it. There are going to be important races in these midterms at every single level. Now, of course, every member of the House is up for re-election, as they are every 2 years. 1/3 of senators, maybe in your state, 1/3 are up for re-election. Many governors are up for re-election, or we may even have open seats as far as governors are concerned. And then, of course, state Senate, state House. They're going to keep trying to take over school boards. We're going to talk about school boards a little bit later on in today's program. Really a ton that is going to be on the ballot. And in a sense, it's a referendum on Trumpism as well. And we've talked about why. If the Trump acolytes all get reelected, or most of them do, or Trump-endorsed candidates win, it will further the grasp that Trumpism has on the Republican Party. It will likely encourage Trump to run in 2024. If the opposite happens, it may dissuade Trump from running in 24. It may push the Republican Party away from Trumpism, so we will see. Now, to go back to Greg Abbott momentarily, he's been a huge disaster. He's failed everywhere. And yet he and they, Republicans, may still run in Texas on Democrats are going to take your guns if they win. And that actually could be enough to win in Texas. They could do that, and they could end up winning if we don't take this seriously. But we're going to have plenty of time to talk about Beto O'Rourke's candidacy as we get closer to the midterms. I keep telling people on the bonus show, in my discussions with YouTube, with our YouTube rep, it seems more and more like the expectation is the midterm build is going to start earlier, often doesn't start until late April into May, fully expecting by late February, mid-March, at the latest late March, these midterms are going to get going. The Texas race with Beto O'Rourke, believed to be set to challenge Greg Abbott, going to be a big part of that, and we're going to be covering that as well. We also will be covering what is this building and continued sort of civil war within the Republican Party, and that's what I want to talk about next. One of our sponsors is Sheath Underwear. It's summer right now in the Northern Hemisphere. It's hot, it's humid. Many of the men in my audience know about the discomfort that can come with this with traditional underwear, the sweating, the chafing, the sticking. Not fun. And that's what Sheath Underwear has solved. Sheath has designed men's boxer briefs with multiple ergonomic compartments built into the front of the underwear, which keeps everything separate, dry, cool, and comfortable all day long. Sheath has re-released 2 limited edition styles, Flower of Life with a stylish flower pattern and bold geometric waistband. The other limited edition style is the Mesh Airflow, especially designed to be lightweight and promote extra coolness and breathability. Give Sheath Underwear a try. I've had a great experience with it. I think you will too. You can find the link underneath this video. And don't forget to use promo code PACMAN for 20% off.